Happy Easter! As I'm sitting here, it's about 10 o'clock in the morning, and the bells are ringing. Everybody's supposed to go to church, I guess. And I'm admiring my short hair, because I cut my hair yesterday. And when I say I cut my hair, I literally cut my hair myself. I have not been to a beautician since January 2010. That was the last time I actually went to a professional hairstylist. And it's mainly because I have trauma from being a child and having to go to the hairstylist. My mom was obsessed with my hair when I was a little kid. And I used to have really pretty blonde hair when I was a little girl. And as I got older, it got darker. And so she used to have me get what they called luminize in my hair, so it would be brighter. And I hated that so much, and I hated getting my hair cut because I would always get hair down the back of my shirt and it would itch. So I don't really go to hairdressers now. And I will cut my own hair, and a lot of times I'll even do it after I've been drinking. So fortunately, my husband is a fan of my humor rather than my cosmetics. But anyway, I wanted to talk about something today that I think might be interesting. Bill went to the Reva, which is our local supermarket. It's maybe a 10-minute walk from our house, which is nice. And as he was checking out, the cashier invited him to take an Easter gift. This is what they were handing out. Now, if you have lived in Germany, you might know that you can get these any time of the year. These are hard-boiled eggs, which they sell for Brotzeit, which is, like when you're going to have your bread and cold cuts and everything. And they boil them and color them so that you know they're boiled. So if you go into a grocery store in Germany, it could be November or January or July, you'll find crates of these eggs. And they're all different colors. He got a yellow one. If it had been me, I would have gotten a blue one. I did share a picture of this yesterday, though, because I said, you'd never get... This is like... They were handing these out in our German grocery store. And I said, you'd never see that in America, would you? And one of my friends said, is that a big egg yolk? Which is fair enough, because there was a time once when the refrigerator that we had malfunctioned. And we had an egg that got frozen, and when I cracked it, the egg yolk was frozen. And I guess if you didn't look closely, you might think that's a yolk that was frozen. But no, it is a hard-boiled egg. And the reason I shared it was because right now eggs are still very expensive in America. I was watching Midas Touch, I want to say yesterday, and they showed a clip of Donald Trump whining because people were not praising him for cheaper eggs. However, as was pointed out in the video, and also I looked it up this morning, eggs are not cheaper. And in fact, I wouldn't expect them to be at Easter time because there's a bigger demand for them. People want to boil and dye their eggs. So I would not expect that you'd see cheaper eggs at Easter. But yet, supposedly he was claiming that they were cheaper, and people were not praising him for it. And this was after I watched the clip of his very dead-to-the-world expression when Dr. Oz's granddaughter fainted. And somebody did point out to me that maybe it wasn't fainting, or I didn't actually see her keel over. I saw the reaction. What I noticed the most was Trump's reaction. which was basically a non-reaction. At most, he looked a little annoyed that the attention was off of him. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting that in Germany, they're handing out eggs as gifts for Easter, and you'd not see that in America because you don't have cheap eggs in America. I think if I had children and I had to plan an Easter egg hunt, I wouldn't want to use those anyway because, I like a boiled egg as much as anyone does, but when you have like a dozen of them, a dozen boiled eggs, and then, you've got to consume them. I'd rather have the plastic ones that have, you could put little toys in them or candy or, whatever. And I think that if you forget to find them, they're not going to rot. But, tradition is tradition, I guess. I was never blessed with children, but I am granny now to my husband's 4 grandchildren. And his daughter is actually making a point of calling me granny, which I never thought would ever happen. That's a very long story, though, so I'm not going to go there. Suffice to say, for about 15 years, give or take, she did not speak to my husband. She wasn't part of her mother would not allow her or her sister to speak to Bill. So we're just now establishing a relationship. And in fact, it was Easter 25 years ago that Bill's ex-wife dropped those papers on him in his own father's house. They were all there visiting for Easter. And grandparents, well, my husband's father and stepmother, took Bill's kids out and her son from her first marriage, and they had a chat, and she dropped the divorce papers because he wouldn't agree to her demands, and to her shock, he said, okay, let's do it. And like all narcissists, she couldn't walk it back. I always like to think of it, though, as the day his life resurrected. And again, a very long story. Won't get into it. But it does have a pretty happy ending, I would say. I wish her sister would come around, but Bill's younger daughter, lovely, lovely person, beautiful children, beautiful family, and we're now able to connect with her and share. And I'm going to have to tell her about these because I think she would be interested. She has not been to another country and probably has never heard of things like Brotzeit colored eggs, and certainly has never heard of Easter egg trees, which is a thing here in Germany. Well, I think I'm going to sign off because we're going to go out to lunch in a little while, and then I will come back and write about the lunch if I'm sober, which I probably won't be. I hope you all have a very nice Easter, and blessings to all, and we'll see you next video.